Welcome everybody to another episode of Inside Guns with your host, me, the Yankee Marshal. Today, I want to discuss the topic of when you should call the police and if you should call the police. Because in my live chat the other day, I was asked basically this question. Now, I want to tell you right off the bat, the answer is pretty much to every time you find yourself in a situation that's potentially going to go south, call the police. Now, that shocked a lot of people when I gave that very same answer in my live chat the other day. Someone was giving me all these scenarios like, if you were this and you were that, what would you do? And I was often saying, well, the first thing I do, call the police. One of the examples was like if you were driving down the highway and someone pulled up next to you in a road rage incident and said, I'm going to shoot you, I'm going to kill you. They asked me, would you ignore them or call their bluff and, show your gun? What would you do? Well, for one, I'm never going to assume anyone who is threatening to kill me is bluffing. Period. That's just something you don't say to someone if you want them to just laugh it off and go away. When you threaten someone, they have every right to take it seriously. And if you don't have the means to do what you say, you probably shouldn't say it. You shouldn't say it anyway, but definitely don't say it if you can't back it up. So I'm going to assume someone who threatens to shoot me or kill me is mean and serious business. Now, my first answer is usually get myself out of that situation, then call the police. But in that situation, if I couldn't get away, there's traffic, whatever, I would try to fall behind them and I would call the police. The reason I try to get behind them in that situation is it's easier to shoot someone forward in front of you than it is to shoot behind you while you're driving. So I would try to get behind them if I could, off to one side or directly behind them, like car between us, whatever I could do. But let's just say I can't. Well, first thing I'm going to do is call the police. Even if it hasn't escalated, even if they haven't shown me a gun, I'm going to call the police. Now, a lot of people thought this was hypocritical. They were like, don't you dislike the police as a whole? And isn't it kind of hypocritical for you to be running to them for protection when you don't like them? Seems like you like them when you need them. Well, I'll answer both of those things right now. One, I don't like the police. I do not like modern day policing. I don't like the way the departments handle their business. I think they're more of a self-involved, self-important private army that only cares about their own benefits and doing what keeps them in power than they are the people. They're just a private army used by the government to control the masses. Don't like them. And when I say call the police, I'm not asking the police for protection. The last thing in the world I would think is that a police officer, for one, is even going to be there in time if something is going to go south. I have a feeling that I'll have to deal with that myself before they get there because, average response times in most places are 20 minutes. Bad situations usually go bad really fast. If you've got 5 minutes, you're lucky. So not counting on the police to be there and protect me. I wouldn't even assume that they could protect me. I don't think most police officers are any more competent than I am at defending myself. I think most people, the person best suited to defend you is you. So be ready to defend yourself. So, no, I don't like the police, and no, I'm not calling them for protection. Well, at least not physically. The reason I say call the police first, even if you're like, well, there's a suspicious person going in my garage. Honey, call the police. I'm going to go confront them. You call the police first for one major reason, and that's to protect you liability-wise or making sure your side of the story has more credibility. Because here's the facts. The person who calls the police first usually gets the benefit of the doubt. That's just the way it is. Most police officers, lawyers will tell you, the person who felt threatened enough to contact authorities first is usually not considered the aggressor. Now, I'm not saying call the police and then go out there and go, now I'm going to shoot him because I called the police, so I'm off the hook. No, there's still going to be a lot of factors that say whether you were justified in doing what you were doing or not. You don't just go out and shoot somebody. But let's say someone puts you in a dangerous situation. You call the police and say, hey, this person is harassing me. They have threatened me. They've shown a gun maybe. I'm in traffic. I can't get away from them. I'm afraid if they don't hurt me, they'll hurt somebody else. And then let's say they do follow you somewhere and you have to defend yourself. Well, you've already got a taken down story, a testament to the police. They've already got your testimony on what was going on before it happens. So if this happens like at 3:05, there was a shooting and they're like, well, at 2:58, this guy called us and said, hey, this person is harassing him and he's trying to get away and he can't. That's going to go a long way to your side of the story being the one they believe. pretty much that way with anything you're going to call the police about. Like, say someone is trying to break into your house. It is not the best idea to just be like, I'm armed, and we'll stay here and let them try. And as soon as they come through that door, I'm putting a bullet in them. Well, that might be a good way to defend yourself. But the better way to make sure that your side of the story is the one the police believe is to dial 911, say, someone is breaking into my house. And then stay on the phone with the police. And if the person breaks down the door or even just opens a door or window, finds an unlocked window, comes in, and you're like, get out of my house. What are you doing here? Blah, blah, blah. And then you shoot. Well, that goes a long way to corroborating your story when the police get there. They're like, this person called us, said someone was breaking into their house. While they were on the line with us, we heard them interact with someone. They pulled the trigger. We heard a gunshot. This is what we find. Now, if you just wait, shoot them, and then call the police, when they get there, are normally going to start asking questions they probably wouldn't have asked if you'd called the police first. They're going to be like, well, is there any familial connection between the two of you? Is there any chance maybe you gave them the idea that they could be here? Is there any way you set them up for this? Because those questions don't hold as much relevance if they can hear you on the phone saying, get out of my house, don't come in my house, blah, blah, blah. You fire your gun, and then they can corroborate with neighbors. There was one gunshot. It was at this time. It's the time they were talking to you on the phone, because that makes it look like, well, they didn't shoot them earlier and then set this up because the neighbors would have heard 2 gunshots. There's all kinds of things that would factor into you calling them, being on the phone with them first. That lends credibility to your story. So always call the police if you look like you're in a situation where there's going to be a confrontation that could easily evolve into deadly force, or where you are at high risk of becoming a victim. Even if you are able to defend yourself and that reduces your risk, you should still call the police for liability reasons. Just to be able to say, I called you, you didn't get here in time, I had to deal with it myself. Now, sometimes the police on 911 will tell you, oh, don't do this, don't do that, don't go out there. They don't have any right to tell you that. That has no factor in whether you're liable or not. Defend yourself, defend your property. But that very act that you called them really can make a difference. So like I say, if you get yourself in a situation like that, call the police. Don't expect them to protect you. Don't even expect them to arrive until it's time to draw the chalk outlines and clean up the mess. But do realize that when you are the actual person who is being not the aggressor, but the aggressee, I guess, it makes good sense to let the police know first. Because that way, like I said, when all things are said and done, at the end, you look like the person that was trying to do the right thing. You look like the victim. And when it comes to a situation like that, if you end up escalating force, which you have every right to do, if someone comes at you with a hammer, you don't have to attack them with a hammer. You can attack them with a gun. But since you had to escalate that force, you want there to be some sort of record that you didn't start the issue, that someone else started it. You ended up having to finish it after you called the police, but at least they think you're not the one that was responsible for it. You did the right thing. You called the police, and then you took care of your business. All right, everybody, I'm excited to tell you that it is my favorite time of any time, and that includes holidays, etc. And what time is that, you might say? Well, it is
new gun time! New gun time! New gun time! New gun time!
And that new gun is a Chiappa, as you can see here. That is, if you can read upside down, or like I say about most of my viewers, if you can read at all. It is the Chiappa 30DSX. Now, one thing about this that did surprise me is it comes with a Kydex holster. It comes with the regular belt strap right there. And it also comes with a paddle holster attachment here. So you can either use this holster as a belt slide holster or as a paddle holster. That was unusual to me because they usually come with a little leather holster, but I've already purchased a holster for this gun from Lobo Gun Leather, my favorite gun maker, gun leather maker, or gun holster maker, I should say. My favorite gun holster maker, so I don't need this. So let's get this out of here and take a look at it. All right, it is a beaut, as are all Chiappa Rhinos, in my opinion. As everyone knows, I've been a big supporter of Chiappa for a long time. Long before they ever knew who I was promoting their firearms because I just love how innovative they are. I actually do love how they look. I especially love they're used in a lot of my favorite sci-fi shows. And I love how that bottom barrel design is really beneficial to someone like me that is suffering from arthritis in our later years and really needs something to help absorb that recoil. And you might be saying, well, didn't you already have a 3-inch? Weren't you one of the people that talked with them about actually making the 3-inch in the beginning, so they gave you one? Well, yes, they did. But this one, like I said, is different because it's the 30DSX. Now you're going to say, what does that X mean? Well, the X means this gun is all stainless steel. This is not aluminum. This is a big chunk of steel here. That makes this a big, sturdy gun. Well, it's not large, but it's sturdy, and it is a little heavy. In fact, this gun is quite a bit heavier than my everyday carry, which lately has been a Langdon Tactical Beretta. Even when that Beretta is fully loaded, this is still several ounces heavier. The Beretta comes in at around 2 pounds, little over when it's loaded. This comes in at 2.8 pounds, so it's actually kind of heavy when you look at it on paper. Although I will have to say, I didn't really notice all that weight today. I carried it today in my holster for the first time. Didn't really notice a lot of weight. And that's when I was carrying it down to the range. I actually had to climb over a glacier down there, a small glacier, to get to the range. But I couldn't resist taking it out, as you can tell from how dirty it still is on the cylinder and the cylinder face here. I put several rounds through it, and oh my God, it shoots .357 Magnum full load from Minuteman ammo like they're nothing. It feels like I'm shooting, I don't know, a .380 maybe, but not even that even. That lower barrel design paired with that weight is just awesome. It is heavy. It does make a heavier carry gun because of that all steel, but man, when you shoot it, it's worth it. And like I said, I didn't really notice all that weight when I was carrying it. I did notice that there were either some very large Bobcat tracks or our Cougar is back down there though when I was down there. So I was paying attention when I was shooting. Although Cougars don't see people as prey really, unless you're like zipping by them and you trigger their prey instinct or their chase instinct, they're usually not going to see people as prey. So I didn't worry too much about that. And plus, she's been coming all summer and ain't bothered me. But that's beside the point. But like I was saying, I just wanted to show this to everyone because this thing is freaking awesome. I shot it today, like I said, loved it. Can't wait to shoot it again. Am I going to carry it? I don't know. I do love the cherry and black grips that came on this with the finger grooves. Usually I don't like finger grooves as much, but these fit me perfectly. And I do like the wood ones that come on them regularly too, and I might switch it eventually, but I really do like the cherry and black on this one just for something a little different. But just wanted to show this, my .357 Magnum Chiappa Rhino 30DSX. This is their first all stainless gun, and you might be saying to yourself, well, why would they even make a gun in all stainless? They already absorb recoil really well, and this just makes for a very heavy gun most people aren't going to want to carry. So why did they do that? Well, let's just say this is a step in a direction towards something a little better, maybe a little bigger, not in size, but in caliber maybe. So that's kind of why they did this intermediate step, an all stainless frame. They just wanted to see how it goes over with people. So as far as I'm concerned, it's going over really well. I'm loving it. I might actually even carry it for a while, but I just wanted to take some time and show it to you. And I'll apologize for actually shooting it before I did the box opening video. I just had to fake that. But it was just such a nice gun. Couldn't resist. And I'm glad I did because I loved it. So there you have it. There's my newest gun, my Chiappa Rhino 30DSX, my all stainless steel 3-inch Chiappa. What do you think? Should I actually carry it for a while? Give it a chance? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, everybody, I want to close the show out today, as usual, with our viewer EDC of the day. And today we have Stephen H. Now, as you can see in this picture, Stephen is carrying a Smith & Wesson 36 in a Tagua leather inside the waistband holster. And this is not all that remarkable, but if you also look at this picture, you'll see he's also carrying, not at the same time, but at a different time, a Taurus G2C in an Urban Carry Lock leather holster. And the reason I want to show this is because he's carrying two very different guns, a smaller, lower capacity revolver and a higher capacity, although 9mm, semi-auto. And the reason I want to show this is because some people, a lot of people, have this misconception that you always got to carry the same gun. You know, that rule of, well, beware the guy that has just one gun because he probably knows how to use it. I always say, the guy that just has one gun probably isn't that into guns and maybe never even fires it. So you can look at that both ways. But this whole notion that, well, you got to have mastered everything about the gun you use. You got to know how to use that gun, so you stick to one gun. Well, I'm a decent driver. I don't have to stick to one car. I get in them, I can feel the differences and be like, okay, I can tell how this car drives a little different than the other car, but the basics are still the same. Same thing with most guns. As long as the manual of arms isn't so different, it's pretty much point the end with the hole in it towards the bad guy and squeeze the trigger properly. There's not a whole lot of stuff you have to remember. The movements of drawing and all that other stuff don't change a lot with different guns. So as long as you're not having a bunch of different types of safeties or something to use, which you can change that by just not having a gun with a safety on it. But as long as you do that, you can carry different guns because all guns aren't made for the same thing. The gun you would choose if you were going to run into a mountain lion or a grizzly bear wouldn't be the same gun if you were going to run into 30 ninjas. Now, to be honest, in both of those scenarios, if they really want to get you, you're not going to hear them coming, so it ain't going to matter. But as you can see, a high caliber revolver would be well more suited to grizzly bears and cougars, whereas a high capacity 9mm would be more suited to 30 ninjas or, a group of disorderly rioters downtown if you work downtown and you have to go down there. You can change your gun to match your circumstances. If I'm hiking in an area where there's not any large predators, but there are snakes, I might carry something and load it with snake shot, at least the first 2 rounds of it. I wouldn't do that if I was going downtown for the day. So, things can be different. If you want to have the best gun for the situation you're in that day, be it camping, going to work, hiking, whatever you're doing that day, those aren't always going to be the same gun. You're always going to be making a compromise somewhere. Do you want to compromise every time you carry your gun, or do you want to have the best gun for that situation? You don't always have to carry the same gun, just like he's showing here. He says in his email that one of them is around the house gun, or around the neighborhood gun, around the farm gun, basically, and one of them is going to town gun. The high capacity one is his going to town gun, the higher capacity one. So that's the message from these 2 pictures. And I know I'm supposed to make fun of him here, but I kind of run out of time. So I guess I can call him a communist like you do everyone in the gun community who you don't like or agree with or want to make fun of. But, that's played out. I don't know. I guess maybe I can say the only thing about this picture that I don't know which one I find more disturbing, the fact that he's got an axe hanging from his coat hanger or that he's wearing Wrangler jeans. But don't really have a lot of time to make fun of him now because I spoke too much about what he was actually carrying and why I wanted to point it out. And the reason I wanted to point it out is, like I said, to show you don't always have to carry the same gun. Match your gun to your circumstances. And that's illustrated here with our viewer EDC of the day, Stephen H., and his 2 different carry setups. All right, everybody, that's our show for today. Thanks for coming, and I hope you come again tomorrow. It's been a pleasure having you. Before I go, I want to remind everyone this channel is 100% viewer funded, and when I say it, I mean it. The only money I take is from viewers. I do not take sponsorship. I do not take advertising. I do not take kickbacks from gun groups or anything like that at all. So if you want to become a member of the posse, please go over to tympistolproject.com. Check out what we do with that money that I get from viewers. Check out the TYM Triple P. Learn about the Pets and the Vets program, etc. And if you do like it and you want to be a member of the posse, go on over to patreon.com/the Yankee Marshal. Sign up to be a patron. And with that said, I want to sign off as usual by saying, as far as the state of the world today is concerned, well, it is what it is. But in the future, if we keep our heads about us and we ignore the fearmongers and the profiteers and the people who want to manipulate us either for our money or to make bad influences out of us, if we ignore those people, what things will be in the future, especially for the gun community, is better.